Okay, so molar mass is the mass of 1 mole of any substance. It can be an element, it can be a compound, and if you think about your periodic table and the way it's set up, and each one of those things has a box of its own. Each one of the elements has its own box. If I go to carbon, it's 12 and 6. If I really look on your periodic table, and we're rounding to get that 12, what is carbon really? 12.01 or something like that? Yeah. So really, this is, and that would be called its average atomic mass. This is its mass number, and we know this is atomic number. I'm going to say that molar mass is equal to average atomic mass, and we're always going to round to the 10th place. So if I have you go to the period, yeah. I forget that thing shows up. So I can have you go to your periodic table, and I can have you find an element. Let me think of one here. Sodium. Go to your periodic table and find sodium and find its molar mass and see if you can tell me what it is. Am I okay to move this? Okay. What's the atomic number of sodium? 11. What is the mass number of sodium? 23, yes? What is the average atomic mass of sodium, Olivia? 23 point what? 23, I think this is what you said, 0.902. I'm going to turn the fume hood off, then I'll be able to hear you.
990.
Oh, Lord, I didn't hear you right at all.
It's
22.990. Now I can hear. Okay, try it again. 22.990. So that's average. This is sodium. And that is its average. I'm just going to write average atomic mass, AAM. So if I want to know its molar mass of sodium, I have to round to the 10th place. So my molar mass of sodium would be what? Bailey? Good job. 23.0 grams. Molar mass we calculate in grams. Isotopic mass or average atomic mass, we talked about how that's called atomic mass units. So don't let that confuse you. Now let's do that for one more. Let me think of another one. Oh, let's do sulfur. Sulfur. Tell me what the molar mass of sulfur is. JT, what's the molar mass of sulfur? Does it round at all? Yeah, so what, 32 point what? If it's 0.66, what does it become? 32 point, what would this 6 do to this 0? What would it make it? A 1, yep. So it's 32.1 grams per mole. That's how I would write it. So if I have 1 mole of sulfur, I have 32 grams of sulfur. And we'll do more with that later, but I'm just want you to hear the terminology a little bit. Now, let's take this a step further and let's do something with a compound. We'll start with an easy one. I'm going to say, what is the molar mass of sodium chloride? Now I want you to go to your periodic table and I want you to calculate it and tell me what it is. So what do I have to do? I have to list each thing. I only have one of each, so one, and then I have to go to the periodic table and I have to find the molar mass. So let's do that. I think we already said sodium was 23. And chlorine, I believe, is 30, is it 35 or 36.5? 35.5. Now what do I have to do with those? Add them, that's all I have to do. 0.5, 8, 58.5 grams per mole. Okay, now I want to know what's the molar mass of hydrochloric acid. Calculate it. What is the molar mass of HCl, which is hydrochloric acid? When you have an answer, stand up. All right, when you have an answer, check with someone, see if you agree. Do you agree with me? Do y'all have grams per mole? Okay, because if you don't have units, it's not right. Anybody have questions? All right, let's do something harder. Let's find the molar mass. This one's not too bad. This is pretty easy still. Find the molar mass of H2O, of water. See what you get. Do you know what to do with that 2? What's that telling you? So when I write these down, I always expect to see your elements listed. I would have to multiply by 2 here. Oxygen, I still only have 1. When you're done, see if your answer matches mine. We good? Okay, so now let's try one that really makes you think a little bit more. Okay, so let's try something that looks like, we'll try aluminum sulfate. Now I want you to make a list of the elements. all three of them, and then I want you to see, that's Al for aluminum, and then I want you to tell me how many there are of each, and then don't go any further. Yeah. Write them all down, and figure out how many of each you have. So let me ask you a question before you go too far. Do you know what to do with this 3 that's outside of the parentheses? You multiply. You don't add, you multiply. Every year I have people that try to add. So this would be like 3 times 1, which is 3, and 3 times 4, which is 12. And how many aluminum do I have? 2. Now I go to my periodic table and I find the mass of each. I think aluminum is 27. Is that right? I don't have a periodic table up here that I can read very well. So it looks like that. That would be 96.3, 27, that's 54. 192. Yeah, that's right. And then I just have to add them all together. Oh, what did I not do? Why is my answer wrong? I forgot my units. That is bad. Okay, I'm going to give you one to try, and I want you to work all the way through it by yourself. Let me think of a good one. That would be called zinc phosphate. What's its molar mass? Calculate it. List your elements out just like I did. I'll be looking for that on your quiz or test or whatever we do with it. you have an answer, stand up. Check your answer with your lab partner. If your lab partner's not here, find someone else to check with. What'd you get, Alyssa?
I got 386.2 grams.
386.2. We messed around it differently. Tell me. Wait, let me unfreeze this. I might have punched it in. You got 3 what?
It's 386.2.
Yeah, I must have punched it in wrong. Let me see.
I just got 390.
65.
You have to run up zinc to
4.
Yeah, 65.4 times 3.
So, did you use 65 point or 64.5 for zinc?
65.4.
That's the problem. I flipped my numbers when I wrote it.
Wait, so am I
Times 30. That's 196.2, which is going to change my answer. Look at that. So this is why I always tell you, my advice when you get done with your quiz is to go back and check your numbers. It's so easy to do what I just did right there, how I transposed my numbers when I carried that molar mass over, which makes your whole answer wrong. Right? So the reason I'm having you write them out like this is because we're going to use it for the next step, for what we do next. Oh my gosh. Voila! Okay, so what we're going to do with this next, we'll start with using zinc. So I need to keep that paper up here. So I'm going to say to you, we're going to find percent composition of a compound. So I had my ZN3PO4, and I had each part, and my zinc was 196.2. I'm just carrying numbers over. And my phosphorus was 62, and my oxygen was 128. And my total was 386.2. So when we do percent composition, it is the part divided by the whole. So I look and I see how many elements do I have, and I make a place for each of them, ZN, P, and O. So I'm going to take my zinc, which was 196.2 grams, and I'm going to divide it by 386.2, and then multiply by 100. So we have to do that for each piece. And I would expect to see it written out like this. I have to be able to tell what you're doing. And then I would go through and I would solve for those things. So go through and do that. And check my numbers. Obviously you need to. Up here, yeah, I just wrote the totals.
Okay.
I just carried my totals over. And when you're doing these things, it's really smart to write them out like we did here, where we got the total, because it lets you carry the total over if you need to, and it also gives you each piece you need for the next part of the problem. It saves you some work if you just write it down. Are my percents correct? Did you check them? How can I tell if I'm right? What can I do? Yeah, add it all up and see if it's pretty darn close to 100. If you're at like 90, somewhere between 99.8 and 100.1 or 2, you're in good shape. If you're off more than that, something's way wrong. All right, now I'm going to give you one to try all by yourself. So, I'll say calculate. The percent composition of phosphoric acid, which is H3PO4. Now see if you can work yourself all the way through it. Yeah. Raise your hand if you have molar mass calculated. I think we should probably stop and check that and make sure we all agree. Tenley, what do you have for molar mass? 98. Do we agree with her? I agree with her. When you feel like you're completely done, go ahead and stand up. Bailey, read me your percents.
For hydrogen, I got 3.1%. For phosphorus, I got 31.6, and for oxygen, I got 65.3.
Do you agree with her?
Phosphorus, on that, the 32%, cause it was 31.63.
I used 31.6. When you added those together, did you get 100?
Yeah.
Let me unfreeze this and you can see what I did. Because when I added mine, I got 100. So I left them like this.
So we don't round up.
I always take them to the tenths place. And if I look at this, that should give me 100%. 30, that makes 30. Yeah, that's 100% right there. So yeah, if you round up to whole numbers, usually you're over on your percent. Feel like you know what you're doing? Okay, so this is, I just gave you a paper that's homework tonight, but let me give you some numbers. I don't think we need to do all of them. Let's do, on the front page, let's do the even numbers. Just do the even numbers all the way through. So all the even. Have a lovely day.